In this video, I'm going to demonstrate how to enter data for a situation where you have two related samples and you wish to run descriptive statistics for each sample. So in SPSS, the way that we would do this, let's imagine the situation very similarly to previous videos where I am looking at exam scores in 10 students, and in this particular case it's a related sample situation where I may want to track the exam scores from the first exam and see if there is any change from the first exam to the second exam in the same 10 students. And so the first thing that we would need to do is set up our variables in SPSS. So if we go to variable view first and go to our first cell here, we'll do exam 1, and we're going to use whole numbers here so we don't need to do decimals, and we're going to do percent score, and we'll leave that as scale. And then our second variable, our exam 2 scores, will be structured in the same way. Once we have these two variables defined, when we go back to our data view, you should see these show up here at the top. And one thing to note, when you have a related sample situation, and this is different from when you had a two independent groups situation, you do not have a grouping variable in this simplistic situation. What you will see is that each case, so for instance case 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. on down, each case is one student and you are measuring them 2 times. So they're related because they are the same student measured twice. So let's enter some data here. And so exam 1 scores for our 10 students, I'll just go ahead and enter these. Okay, so there are 10 scores for each student, and now our exam 2 scores for the same students . So we have student 1, exam score 1, exam score for 2. And so in this case, what we are going to do is we're going to use the same steps of generating descriptive statistics as we did in previous videos, where we're going to go to Analyze, Descriptive Statistics, Explore. And when we have this dialog box pop up, it will look a little different than it did when you had two independent groups in the previous video, because in that situation you do have a grouping factor. In this case, since you are not grouping these individuals into different groups, you essentially have one group measured twice. And so what you're going to do, you're going to take your exam 1 scores and your exam 2 scores and put them both in your dependent list. And you'll leave the factor list empty. You're going to go to Plots. If your instructor requires you to have a stem and leaf, you can leave that checked. I tend to uncheck them. You would like to have a histogram so you can see the frequency distribution. And just as a habit, go ahead and you can generate your normality plots. Again, that might be something that you will use in future research and analysis courses depending on the instructor. Once you've done that, you can click Continue, and then you can hit OK. And then we should have our output window pop up. And to ensure that we can find all of this information, always check to make sure that all of your data were included. So each exam measure should have 10 scores. That checks out in the case processing summary. Here you have your descriptive statistics for your exam 1 distribution. So here's your mean variance, standard deviation, range, and then just below it you have your exam 2 distribution, and you have the same values for that one. Here's the normality test. Again, that might be something you use in future classes. And then as you scroll down, you will see your histogram for the exam 1 scores. And then down below here, you'll see your histogram for your exam 2 scores. And that is a simple way to generate descriptive statistics for 2 related samples. Again, a very simplistic situation.